The issue of the impact of marijuana use and intoxication on driving is a very interesting topic. So, although one of the huge and major consequences and troublesome problems with marijuana use is that for some people it leads to use disorders. They may get addicted, they may get dependent, they may develop habitual use. Even without that, even one episode of use can impair judgment, speed of decision making, motor performance and coordination such that it impacts driving. So if you think about the impact of drinking on driving, you don't have to have alcohol use disorder. You don't have to be addicted. You don't have to be an alcoholic to be a drunk driver. Same principle applies. Marijuana has been well established to be linked to impaired driving and increased risk of motor vehicle crashes, perhaps increasing the risk 2 to 3-fold. It's not as much as alcohol, which increases the risk as much as 10-fold, so it's not as bad, but 2 to 3 is still plenty bad. So when people smoke for at least several hours, they are at 2 to 3 times the increased risk of getting into an accident. Sometimes that leads to fatality. So it's a horrible, horrible issue. So whatever we believe about increased access, legalization, medicalization, whatever you think or don't think about that, marijuana and cars do not go together, just like alcohol and cars do not go together. But then what are we going to do about it? So we have this technology with detection and testing for alcohol in which we've established legal threshold limits for what constitutes driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated by measuring alcohol in the blood, in the breath, whatever. And the reason we've been able to do that technologically is alcohol is very short acting. Several hours after you've had a last drink, it's not in your system anymore for most people. So we can measure a lot, a medium amount, a little, none. But marijuana lasts in your system a long time. So our detection technology is very primitive. So if a person smoked every day for the last 3 weeks, but didn't smoke yesterday, it's still in their system. So how do we measure with a long-acting, slow-to-excrete substance? How do we tell what's too much, what's the right amount, what's the threshold of impairment? And we don't really have that technology. So in states where there's been increased access, liberalization through decriminalization or medicalization or legalization, that has vexed law enforcement and public safety officials. Because how do you know when you're at the scene of a crash what to make of the marijuana that's in a person's system? Was that marijuana from last month? Was that marijuana from a week ago? Was that marijuana from yesterday? Was that marijuana from 20 minutes ago? And how does whatever number you measure relate to their impairment? We don't have those tables of scientifically interconnected correlation yet. So what are we going to do about that? And how are we going to make determinations of what's illegal, not in terms of use, but in terms of driving? Big trouble.
What are they doing about that right now?
Nothing. We don't know what to do.
So no one's getting arrested for impaired driving at their high?
Well, people are getting ticketed on the curbside intuition of law enforcement agents, but the courts are very reluctant because there's no good standard of evidence. So it's a whole area of public policy and law enforcement that has yet to be written.
So how do you see that all folding out?
Well, we're going to need better technology, and you got to decide whether you want to err on the over-restrictive, that is, any marijuana in your system, even if it's only from a month ago, since I can't tell the difference, is illegal and puts you at greater culpability of criminal responsibility, even knowing that it might not have been that active because it hasn't been for a month. Am I going to go far that way, or am I going to go far the other way to say, since I can't tell the difference, I'm not going to be able to make you culpable for marijuana use because I can't tell? We can go back to the days of, can you walk a straight line? Can you follow my finger? Yeah. But again, the courts have trouble with those things. Mm-hmm. Not my area of expertise, but it is very, very interesting and remains something that we're going to have to do a better job with improved science.